Aryna Sabalenka is the world number one. She's the two-time defending champion. She's known for power, confidence, and big match nerves of steel. So why did she walk off the court saying she was all over the place and barely holding herself together? This wasn't just another win. This was a warning sign. Let's talk about what really happened. Coming into this match, the pressure on Aryna Sabalenka couldn't have been higher. She wasn't just the top seed, she was the two-time defending champion at the Australian Open. Back-to-back titles, a fortress in Melbourne, a player many expected to cruise through the early rounds. On paper, this should have been routine. She was playing Anastasia Potapova, a dangerous opponent but not someone most people predicted would seriously threaten the world number one at this stage. The expectation was simple. Sabalenka controls the match, gets through in straight sets, and moves on quietly. That's not what happened. From the first few games, something felt off. Sabalenka wasn't calm, she wasn't settled. Her timing looked shaky, her movement wasn't as smooth, and she kept talking to herself between points. More than usual. You could see frustration building after missed chances, even early in the match. And then came the tiebreaks. This is where the story really turns. Because at this stage of a Grand Slam, matches aren't just decided by forehands and backhands, they're decided by nerve. And tiebreaks are where champions reveal who they really are. For Sabalenka, tiebreaks have become her territory. They're where her power, aggression, and belief usually overwhelm opponents. When the score tightens, she normally loosens up. She swings freely. She commits. She trusts her game. That's why the stat matters so much. 19 straight Grand Slam tiebreak wins isn't just about points. It's about psychological dominance. But against Potapova, something felt different even before the numbers caught up. Sabalenka wasn't imposing herself early in rallies. She was reacting, waiting, second-guessing shot selection. You could see moments where she hesitated, just a fraction of a second. And at this level, that's everything. Potapova sensed it too. Instead of backing off, she leaned in. She took the ball early, redirected pace, and refused to give Sabalenka easy rhythm. Every long rally became a small test of patience. Every missed opportunity added another layer of pressure, and that's when the noise inside Sabalenka's head seemed to get louder. Between points, she wasn't just talking, she was negotiating with herself. Trying to reset, trying to stay present, trying to keep emotions from spilling over. This wasn't panic, but it wasn't comfort either. It was tension, the kind that builds quietly until it demands attention. What made it so striking was the contrast. This is a player who usually thrives in chaos, who feeds off intensity, who plays her best tennis when the stakes are highest. Yet here, the stakes felt heavier than usual. Not because she was losing, but because she felt the risk of losing control. That's what makes this match so fascinating. Sabalenka wasn't being outplayed, she was being challenged internally, forced to win without feeling dominant, forced to survive moments instead of owning them. And for a defending champion chasing history, that's an uncomfortable place to be. Here's the key detail that made this match go viral among tennis fans. Sabalenka had won 19 straight tiebreaks at Grand Slam level. 19. In a row. That's not normal. That's elite-level mental toughness. That's the kind of stat that makes opponents nervous before a tiebreak even begins. But against Potapova, that incredible streak was pushed to the absolute limit. The rallies were tense, every point felt heavy. Sabalenka had chances to pull away, and didn't. Potapova stayed right there, forcing Sabalenka to fight for every inch. And suddenly, the unbeatable tiebreak queen looked human. What stood out wasn't just the scoreline. It was Sabalenka's body language. She wasn't celebrating points the way she usually does. There were fewer confident fist pumps. Instead, we saw deep breaths, long pauses, and visible frustration. At times, she looked like she was trying to calm herself down more than she was trying to overpower her opponent. This wasn't the fearless Sabalenka we're used to seeing in Melbourne. This was someone battling her own head. After the match, Sabalenka didn't hide anything. In her post-match comments, she admitted it straight up. She said she was all over the place during the match. That's a big thing to say when you're the world number one. She didn't blame the conditions. She didn't downplay the struggle. She didn't pretend it was an easy win. Instead, she opened up. She spoke honestly about how difficult it was to keep herself together mentally, especially in those pressure moments. She described feeling tense, emotional, and uncomfortable on court, even while winning. And that honesty is exactly why this moment resonated with so many fans. One line from her interview really stood out. Sabalenka said she was struggling to keep it together emotionally. Think about that for a second. This is the same player who just dominated the women's game for 2 years at this tournament. The same player who thrives under pressure. The same player who usually looks like she enjoys the chaos of big moments. Yet here she was, admitting that she felt close to losing control, not of the match, but of herself. That's not weakness, that's honesty. Yes, she won the match. Yes, she protected her title run. Yes, the streak survived. But this didn't feel like a victory that builds confidence. It felt like a narrow escape. And when a dominant champion starts surviving instead of controlling, people start asking questions. Is it physical fatigue? Is it emotional pressure? Is it the weight of expectations finally catching up? The truth is probably a mix of all three. Being world number one changes everything. Every opponent plays their best against you. Every match feels like a final. Every mistake is magnified. And at a tournament where you've already won twice, the pressure doubles, because anything less than another title feels like failure. Sabalenka isn't just defending points, she's defending an identity, the unbeatable force in Melbourne. That's a heavy load to carry. This wasn't just about Sabalenka struggling. Anastasia Potapova deserves serious credit. She didn't panic. She didn't disappear in big moments. She kept the rallies deep, challenged Sabalenka's patience, and refused to let the match slip away easily. That's what forced Sabalenka into those uncomfortable positions, and into those emotional moments we saw on court. Sometimes pressure isn't created by weakness, it's created by resistance. Now comes the big question fans are asking, was this just an off day, or was this the first real crack in Sabalenka's armor? Great champions have these moments, matches where they win, but don't feel right. Matches that force reflection, matches that remind them they're human. The danger isn't wobbling once. The danger is if the wobble becomes a pattern. This match mattered because it showed something we don't often see from Sabalenka. Vulnerability. Not in a dramatic way, not in a meltdown, but in quiet honesty. She didn't walk away pretending everything was fine. She acknowledged the struggle, and sometimes that awareness is what separates champions who last from those who fade. The draw only gets tougher from here. The margins get smaller. The pressure gets heavier. And opponents will remember this match. They now know Sabalenka can be pushed. They now know the tiebreak streak isn't untouchable. They now know she's not invincible. Even here, the real test isn't whether she wins her next match. The real test is whether she regains that calm, ruthless confidence that made her champion in the first place. This wasn't a collapse. It wasn't a disaster. But it was a moment. A moment where the world number one admitted she was struggling. And kept going anyway. And sometimes, those are the moments that define a tournament. So let me ask you this. Do you think this was just a temporary wobble, or the beginning of a tougher road for Sabalenka at this Australian Open? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy real tennis stories beyond the scoreboard, you know what to do. What makes this moment especially important is timing. Early rounds are usually where champions feel safest. There's room to experiment, to play into form, to win without showing everything. For Sabalenka, this match did the opposite. It exposed how thin the margin really is when confidence isn't fully locked in. In recent seasons, Sabalenka's evolution hasn't just been about power, it's been about emotional control. She's worked hard to turn volatility into fuel rather than friction. When things go wrong, she usually responds with clarity and aggression. But against Potapova, that clarity wasn't always there. The power remained. The results followed. The feeling didn't. That disconnect matters. Because tennis at the top level isn't just about execution, it's about trust. Trust in your patterns. Trust in your instincts. Trust that when the moment tightens, your game will hold. Sabalenka won this match without fully trusting herself, and that's rare for a player of her stature. It also changes how opponents prepare. Players watching this match won't focus on the scoreline, they'll focus on the hesitation. The pauses, the moments where Sabalenka didn't immediately take control, those are invitations. And at a Grand Slam, invitations don't go unanswered for long. There's also the emotional toll of chasing history. A third straight Australian Open title would place Sabalenka in elite company. That kind of legacy doesn't just inspire, it weighs. Every match becomes a referendum on greatness, not just a step forward. The question now isn't whether Sabalenka can raise her level. We know she can. The question is whether she can quiet the internal noise before it gets louder. Because the further she goes, the fewer chances she'll get to escape. Champions aren't judged by how dominant they look when everything clicks. They're judged by what they do when it doesn't. And this match was Sabalenka's first real reminder that this tournament won't be handed to her. She'll have to take it, one composed moment at a time.